Welcome to the Wave Services Customer Provisioning Portal overview. This portal is located at waveservices.motorolasolutions.com. Our goal today is to understand and use the Wave Services Provisioning Portal and the provisioning process required by your Host LMR agency. The steps involved will be to use or create your Motorola online account for portal access the waveservices.motorolasolutions.com portal, gather the information required for provisioning your Wave users, submitting your provisioning request to your Host LMR agency, and next steps. The Wave Services portal is a dedicated portal that requires secure account password access to be allowed for the client agencies to request access to the Host LMR Agency Talkgroups via Wave Services. Access is only granted to client agency administrators that will request access for new Wave users on behalf of the client agency. This means that end users will not be allowed to access new accounts, only agency administrators. The Wave Services portal is limited to client agency administrators that have a Motorola Online or MOL login. If your agency does not purchase directly from Motorola Solutions, you will need to have a Motorola Online account set up. The full address for Motorola Online is businessonline.motorolasolutions.com. If you have questions concerning MOL, please contact your Motorola account representative. If you do not know who this is, please use the help function on the MOL webpage, and the MOL help desk team will assist in creating this account. Next, we'll talk about gathering and creating user provisioning information. In order to provision users onto the Wave system, the following information is required: LMR Talkgroups, profiles, and individual user information. LMR Talkgroups, Wave Services allows access to 2 profiles of 16 talkgroups per profile for a total of 32 talkgroups per user. Wave profiles are a way of associating LMR talkgroups with specific job functions, i.e. police use a PD talkgroup and fire uses FD talkgroups. Each profile must be unique on the Wave system. When you're entering information into the Wave portal, Wave Services portal, the portal will allow you or let you know if there is another profile that's been created using your same name. We'll talk about this a little more in detail in an upcoming slide. If your department does not own the talkgroups you wish to access, you must have a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with that agency on file. This will be attached to the provisioning request as a permanent record. Typically, these are done on your letterhead, signed by the agency that you wish to access, and then scanned. The scanned record can be uploaded to the system and will be attached as a permanent record. If your agency owns all the talkgroups to be accessed, then no MOU is required. In most cases, this will be how you will access your systems because you'll be using your own talkgroups. Note, if your agency owns all the talkgroups to be accessed, no MOU is required, and you can skip the step above. Lastly, you need to create Wave username information. This consists of a Wave login ID, a Wave alias name, and a user email address. The user email address is required, so that is how we identify the user on the system and can email information to them like their login credentials. Now let's talk about best practices for talkgroups and profiles. Talkgroups must match what you program into your LMR radios for proper mapping to the Host Agency LMR system. If your host agency uses a unique identifier for your agency or county, append that to your profile name. Example, Greene County is the 6th county in the state. You want a police-only profile, so your profile would be 6PD. And remember, the Wave portal will check to see if an existing profile has been created, so you will not be allowed to duplicate a profile. That's a limitation of the Wave system. Next, let's talk about the Wave Services provisioning process. Once you have access to the waveservices.motorolasolutions.com portal via your MOL username password, there are 3 steps in provisioning process. 1, to create a new request. 2, to submit for Host LMR approval. And 3, purchase the service once the Host LMR system has approved access to Talkgroups. We're not going to spend much time on this particular slide, but it does show the process end to end from when you log in using your MOL login all the way through to where your user gets their information from the Welcome to Wave email and are able to log in and start accessing Talkgroups. Once you have added all of your users, your request can then be submitted to your host agency for approval. The host agency will review and either approve as is, or they will reject with a reason attached to the request via a note. This will show up in your Wave portal as a status of rejected. Click on the request ID, determine what the error was, and correct. Once corrected, the request can be resubmitted for approval again. Please note that this is an iterative process. You have an unlimited amount of times that you can actually submit until you get the approval right. Your state representative will be the one that will make the final selection of approved or rejection. Once your provisioning request has been approved by the host agency, the status in the portal will change to approved and the icon for add to cart will appear. Follow the instructions for purchasing the Wave service, accepting the terms and conditions, and complete the transaction. A couple of notes. Motorola Solutions does not accept credit card for orders at this time. Purchase orders or notice to proceed are allowed. This is a free form field in the purchase section that you can fill out as needed. So what happens next? Your completed transaction triggers an order within Motorola Solutions, as well as the actual provisioning of the users. Motorola provisions users 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Motorola strives to provision all users within a 48-hour period of the order being received. If an order comes in on a Friday, for example, it will not be provisioned until the following week. You and your users will receive a Welcome to Wave email that contains username, password, and server login information. Directions are given to download the Wave application from either the iOS or Android app stores.
Now let's take a moment and do a walkthrough of the portal itself. In this case, we're going to be using a test system instead of the live production system. You'll enter your username and password that you've received from Motorola into the fields here for your login. The first thing you'll be greeted with is a Wave 5000 subscriptions page. From this, you can look at various things like what are your open requests, what are your purchase requests, download an MOU template if you need one, and create a new request. In the case of this, we're going to create a new request. So in this particular case, we're going to select our host agency. You'll be able to notice that you have various information that you can fill out during the course of this. So the host agency we're going to select here is going to be Michigan Public Safety. We're going to say that we're an existing customer, and you'll notice that if you have a default answer of yes, if you're a member of your Host LMR network. If you were to answer no, if you're not a member in good standing, it would stop you at this point and you wouldn't be able to proceed further. So here we're going to select a customer number. In this case, we're going to select Mackinac County 911. So you'll have information that's populated from your information gathered out of your customer ID information. and then you'll need to put in a number. In this case, we're going to request a couple of users. You can request up to 99, but that's not really a hard limit. That's just a lot of users to enter in one particular field. So now this is the section where we talked about the MOU. If you own your own talk groups here, you do not need to download the MOU template. If you do, it's simply a text file or a Word document that allows you to have information that says, yes, you do have permission and authorization to access talk groups that you don't own. This will vary by host agency to host agency. So the template here for this particular instance is a state of Michigan template. If you're in another state or with another region, you'll be able to use their template. We're going to assume that we're not adding any particular MOUs for this particular agency, so we're going to skip this step. So now, back when we discussed the fact that you have to know your LMR talk groups, this is the key part where we're adding the information for your talk groups. So we're going to call this one HCSODIST1, and we're going to say that I own this. You'll notice here that the talk group is defaults to not encrypted. You can change that to be encrypted, and if this is a listen-only talk group, you can say yes or no there. The defaults are no for both. Now we're going to create a profile name. So we're going to create one called police_chief. Now in this case, in the Wave system, someone has already created a profile name of police chief. So Wave keeps track of the profiles in a unique fashion. So if you're trying to create a unique profile for your agency and if you want to do something generic like police chief, you may have to do something and append like police chief_HC. We're going to then associate that with the HCSODIST1 talk group. Now this is where we talked about the information that we needed to have. So we're going to use some of the information that we gathered. I'm going to use the sample that we used there. And we're going to call this rbags1 and Richard Beggs. And here's where we have the opportunity of being able to, oops, got an error. This is where we have the ability to select more than one profile. If we had a secondary profile, we could select it here. Now we're going to add a second one, and we're just going to call this one user1, and we'll say this alias name is Mark Bradley. So now this brings you to a list of users that you've got with a lot of information. You do have an opportunity to go back in and add an MOU if some reason you decided that you needed to at this point. However, it will take you back in the process steps and make you kind of walk through everything that you've got. It will retain the information, but you'll have to basically walk through the process again. So you can look, we want to access the HCSODIST1. The talk group owner is Jim Hendricks. It's not encrypted, it's not listen only. The profile was we're using police_chief_HC, and we're using this one particular talk group selected. The users to this are rbags1 and user1 with their information there. So now we're going to go ahead and submit this. And once we've submitted this, it now goes to the host agency. You can click on Track Your Request, which will then now show that you've got a request ID, here 224, for Mackinac County Sheriff, the date it was created, the number of users, that you're a network member, and a status of new. The next step will be to wait until your host agency receives the information, which is done via email, notifies them that they have a new request in their queue, and then they will be the ones that have to go in and actually review this information on the host side portal to be able to approve or reject it. Now that we've submitted this request in for host approval, let's do a refresh. And see what the status is. In the case of this, we had an error. So the status is host rejected. So now we're going to click on that request ID, and we're going to take a look at the information. So we have all the basic information we have here, but now we've got a request for denial. So the request in this particular case says, please use a format such as Bradley M1 for the Wave login ID, not user1. So there we can go down and we can see that down here in the list of assigned users, we created one called user1. So to be able to edit that, we go back to the main page by clicking on the Motorola Solutions button or logo. And we want to edit this. So now we can scroll down to the list of assigned users, and we see where it says user1, and we're going to put, we'll make this M Bradley 1. And now we'll click next. We've got the information that's there, and we can resubmit. So now we want to go back in, track our request. And now we notice that the status has changed from rejected to new. So this is the step where the process where the host agency has an opportunity to reevaluate your submittal and see that you've corrected any errors. So now we reload this screen, and now we see that the status is now host approved. So once the status is host approved, that means that your host is like, we're good to go. You can go ahead and add the service. And now you see that the button called Add to Cart is actually lit up here. So we click on Add to Cart. And then we have Wave 5000 User Management. And you can proceed to checkout. Take a look at your customer information, your customer number, and this is where we talked about if you have an NTP 8718, whatever you want to make up there. It's a free-form text field. And there's two elements. You have the service itself for 2 users, and then you have the user provisioning fee, which is $10 per user, a one-time fee. Click on Continue. Select your billing address, and your consumption address typically is going to be the same. It could be different if need be, but normally that's going to be the same as to wherever you're billed. Click Continue. Now you've got your information that you have down here. You've got your invoice, payment information. Agree to the terms and conditions, which you can go through and look at if you wish, but they're standard software terms. And then if you agree to those, check the box, click Confirm and place order. Now, when you have this, you'll get an email to your confirmation to your account, and that will be the administrator account that you logged in under. So make sure that that's given the proper email address, and it has the items that you've got. If you submitted for 10 users, this would be a quantity 10. In this case, we just did a quantity 2. So if you wish to continue shopping, it'll take you back to your main dashboard. And now you notice that your open requests have disappeared and your purchase requests have now shown up here. Now, in the case of this, you can always go back in and look at any of these requests to pull up that basic information that you have for your subscriptions for that particular date. So that record is always there for you. So now that you have purchased your subscriptions, if you wish to log out, you go up to the user with the note up there for the avatar, and it says your James and your customer number, and you can simply log out. So this concludes our overview of the Wave as a Service customer provisioning portal. Thank you for your time.